shortly. You'll be able to see our faces, and you'll recognize that Nicholas Irby is co-hosting with me today, and Xavier is rightly managing the office. He has a lot to do on a day like this, because as we all know, what's happening, just so much going on in the world and the markets geopolitically, and so Xavier is just, he's on top of it.
Yeah.
We said we considered sending him on a peace mission, but we decided, just keep him in the office, and
we were worried they'd send him back. So
exactly.
He stayed here.
So he's managing the office and taking care of clients.
Taking care of business.
Sure that he's on top of everyone.
But today, mañana, the show will go on. It must go on, and we have two fantastic guests to start with.
Absolutely. No, today's going to be fantastic. I think we just one great guest after another today on Today Mañana. So it's going to be fantastic. We're going to be joined shortly by Matthias John. He's a realtor at Wiley Real Estate. And then followed by David Mccormick, the Artistic Director of Early Music Access Project. And then, of course, Stephanie Leach, Program Manager, and Carol Larson, Board Member of the Charlottesville Scholarship Program. So we are jam-packed today, but it's going to be so much to learn and some great people on the show.
Absolutely, and if you recognize David's name, it's because he's been here before.
Yes, he is back. He is back to talk some one of our favorite subjects, which is music.
Yes.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Nicholas joining us.
Good morning, everyone.
Nicholas Irby, the CMO of Emergent Financial Services. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I mean, it's wet and cold out there, so this is the perfect morning to grab your café con leche, sit down in a nice warm place, and listen to Today Mañana and watch us, because we have some great guests lined up for us today. We're going to have on Matthias John, Realtor at Wiley Real Estate, followed by David McCormick, the Artistic Director of Early Music Access Project, and then Stephanie and Carol from the Charlottesville Scholarship Program. So it's a wonderful, wonderful day lined up for us today. As you can see, Xavier, he's in the office managing some things today, taking care, watching those markets, because as we all know, there's a lot going on geopolitically and market turmoil today, so he's taking care of things, checking things out, making sure he's on top of everything, and using his great analytical mind to figure out what
his great analytical mind.
His philosophy, Xavier's philosophy, right? All our philosophy is always keep calm.
Keep calm.
Keep calm, and just keep plugging away away. So that's what we're doing here on Today Mañana. Got some fantastic things lined up. We're always excited to be here on the I Love Seville Network set. We're always presented by Emergent Financial Services and powered by Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, by Castle Hill Cider, by Sirius Credit Insurance, by our newest one, the newest partner, the Gym Seville, which is, they're looking at
We're going to love working with the gym.
Yeah, we're going to love working
with the gym. There's a lot that they've got going on.
They have some membership deals going on. They've got some new people. They've got trainers there. They've got, I think, a new location soon.
Yeah, they're going to be moving.
A larger spot, so it's going to be fantastic.
And we're going to have them back on soon, and
they're going to be back on soon to talk about just
all the things going on.
Ways you can be more active, really get that momentum going.
Exactly.
As Justin put it, so fantastic to have them on board. Of course, we are also powered by Vitae Spirits.
Right.
And by GBS Financial Services. And we are always with Ford Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So, I say, I don't know about you, I say we jump right into it.
Yeah, we have to.
Excited to jump right in here. So we're really excited to welcome to the program Matthias John. He's a realtor at Wiley Real Estate. Matthias, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
For those who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to working at Wiley.
Well, good question, and I like how you phrased it, journey, because it was a journey for me. You can probably tell by my accent, I'm not originally from here. I am from Germany. Was born and raised there and in Papua New Guinea, Australia.
Wow.
And after school and university in Germany, I landed in Charlottesville.
Interesting.
And that was 8 years ago. And I made Charlottesville my hometown. I love Central Virginia. I like the city of Charlottesville and the mountainous area. Mm-hmm. That was my journey to Charlottesville, and here I am today, explaining to you why.
Well, welcome.
Fantastic. So what led you to be interested in real estate as a profession?
Well, I have a very different background, actually. I have a background in public policy and governance, so not necessarily related to what I'm doing now. However, worked for many years for a local consumer electronics company, and while that was a great employer and it was a lot of fun, I also knew that I'm very passionate about real estate. In fact, I used to live in Central America, and that was my first real estate experience. I worked with American retired people that were interested in purchasing a beach property in Central America on the coast, and obviously that was a very different real estate experience to here. You can imagine it required less paperwork oftentimes, and what I would typically do is pick up the Americans at the airport and show them the beach properties, and was quite successful doing that. And it was also a lot of fun. So as I was working here in my office job, 9 to 5, for quite a while, and talking to my wife about where the future might bring us, she told me, you always look at listings, you always talk about historic properties, you always go and visit them and drive around. Are you actually going to make that jump one day into real estate? And that kind of opened up the possibility of actually doing that. And then, in the midst of the pandemic, I actually
took the plunge.
I did it, and I'm glad I did. It's a passion, so it's a lot of fun to work in the industry. And frankly, what I enjoy doing most is working with people.
Right.
I get to do that every day.
That's fantastic. I mean, what would you say on that vein? First off, I have to say, I love the fact that we always talk with a lot of entrepreneurs and people who decide to go out for themselves, and the family support is always a major factor. So I love the idea that your wife is out there saying, you love this, when are you going to actually do this for a living? So it's just fantastic to have that kind of support that really pushes us, I think, to go down that road. So what would you say is like unique about the way you, given your background and your experiences, unique about the way you approach real estate with clients?
Yeah, I actually get the question a lot because we all know there are a lot of realtors, especially here in the area. So it's a competitive market. And while that might be a downside for personal success because you compete against a lot of other great realtors, I also say it's an opportunity to be authentic, and by being authentic, attract to a very specific clientele. And I think that's been working out very well for me. To answer your question, obviously I'm not American. I moved here 8 years ago, so I know the area well because I made it my hometown, so I'm passionate about it. But what I bring to the table is I speak several languages, which helps in a international city like Charlottesville due to the university community. So we have a lot of clients that appreciate working with someone that, not because they don't speak English, but that is experienced with other mentalities and cultures.
Yeah, and it's a comfort level sometimes, I think. And we sort of experience this ourselves. And when a Latino client comes in, sometimes we speak Spanish as our father's Cuban.
Right.
It's not so much like most of the conversation often will occur in English, right? Because it's a common language. They want to practice it. We want to make sure we communicate well. But just the knowledge that someone's there who speaks Spanish and can translate sometimes that jargon, those specific words that you sit there and say, I never would have used this in Spanish anyway, so I really don't know what the equivalent is in English.
Right.
Just adds a whole new comfort level to say, yes, I'm conducting this in English, but I know that if I need, all right, say that again in Spanish, someone's there who can actually do that.
Yeah, I like that. You know, when you work in sales and you want to establish trust, it always is helpful to be relatable. And that's what my clients appreciate about me, I guess, that I am relatable. For instance, I told you I lived in Central America, so I speak fluent Spanish. I work with a lot of Hispanic customers, Mexicans, South Americans, Central Americans. And while most of them obviously do speak English, they do like working with someone that understands the mentality. And I love it. I get to speak Spanish. I get to work with a very diverse clientele. I love it.
So I have a quick question for you. Where in Central America were you located / based?
In Nicaragua.
Okay, Nicaragua. Okay.
Okay.
We got some friends from Nicaragua. If you're watching, you guys, Guajiros,
Okay, Guajiros,
right there,
it's one of my favorite breakfast places.
Yeah, it's a great place to eat.
So those guys are from Managua, the capital, and that's where I used to live and work.
Awesome. Shout out to Harvey and Danilo and Sebastian if you're watching.
Exactly. Especially because of their coffee. Huh?
Oh, the
best
coffee.
Coffee in town?
Yeah, they do. Best coffee.
Good. It's so good, the coffee. We'll often grab something from there. If one of us is at lunch there, meeting someone.
We text the other one.
We text the other one.
Do you want
me to bring you back a coffee?
Now that they're downtown too.
Exactly.
That makes it so much easier.
So much closer. A little shout out. We got some people watching the show today. We got Bill McChesney watching the show. We got Elizabeth Miller watching the show today. Thanks for watching, everyone. So, I mean, I just, one thing I always like to ask with real estate is what your process kind of looks like. So, I mean, what can people expect? Someone calls you up, sends you an email, and says, hey, I'm looking for a home. I want to meet with you. What's sort of the process they can expect when getting in touch with you and beginning to work with you?
Well, first of all, I think what is paramount is to take the noise and the pace out of the process. We are facing turbulent market conditions. It's a time of uncertainty, and a lot of our clients feel that. And so purchasing a home or selling a home itself is already or can be overwhelming. So what I like to do, and frankly that's our task, is to break it down and to assist them through every step. Currently we are in a situation where we don't really know how the market will look like this year. I think we have to acknowledge that we are moving towards a down market that is concerning. At the same time, we have home values still going off the charts. Simultaneously, we are moving towards rising mortgage and interest rates. So all this comes into play, and people are wondering, is this a good time to buy? Is this a good time to sell? Some actually call us rather hastily and concerned and anxious. So at the end of the day, and I think that answers your question best, sit down, explain the process step by step, and deliver to the clients that we are there to make it as easy as possible. All those factors that I just mentioned about the market condition and the uncertainty about the future, I mean, you work in finance,
right?
You know how it's looking. That is beyond our control, that is beyond my control. But what is in my control is to provide a great sales experience and make it convenient for my client.
Which makes sense. I mean, sometimes it's taking away, like you said, the noise and the anxiety of things that are beyond your ability to control at this point, right? The housing market, when you go to buy or whether you go to sell, the housing market is beyond your control. Like your one house cannot affect the housing market. It's a bunch of other houses together that do it, and the whole dynamics of supply and demand. So you just have to sometimes sit back and say, the number one thing to do is don't panic.
Right.
Don't panic, be relaxed, and have a plan, I guess.
Right, and sometimes not look at the overall picture, but focus on this particular house you're trying to purchase or sell, and in our experience, that works best.
Absolutely. So, I mean, what are some things that you advise people? And as we talked a little bit about the fact that it's the sales experience and so forth, but when you're approaching strenuous times, or let's say you've got a house that you want to sell, what are some things you advise people to sort of keep in mind when they're in such a volatile market?
I want people to keep in mind, or first of all, in the first phase of the process of purchasing a home, for example, is to sit down with the financial advisor. So that's where you guys come in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And obviously figure out what are the numbers. What we are experiencing currently is people purchasing homes at a price higher than what the house is listed for. The bidding wars, we all read about that. And oftentimes, it might not be the best solution. If you look at homes that are being sold in Crozet, for example, with up to 20% over asking, while short term it might be great to actually get the house, I often wonder, and I have an open conversation about it with clients, does it make sense to purchase the home so much over asking? Because in the long term, you want to be able to resell the house. I take advantage of the equity, but if you spend 20% over asking, the question remains, how good of a financial decision is that? Yeah, and as a realtor, I am not able nor allowed to give financial advice, which is why I like advising my clients to talk to their advisors, either for legal counsel or their financial advisors. And that's why it's a lot of fun to work in a city like Charlottesville, because we have a lot of great local individuals that can provide that information.
Right, exactly. And we've talked about it before, I think, on other shows, the importance of sort of that team around you to say, okay, it's not just house time, I only go talk to a real estate agent, or finance time, I only ever speak to my financial advisor, and when I'm talking about my house, I don't even bother talking to him. It's all involved because, I mean, it's going to be a major financial decision.
Well, it's even like you start throwing in the insurance, and you start throwing in like, well, what about, can all the cars I want fit here? And then all of a sudden you have all these other pieces that are at play that you haven't taken into consideration because you didn't talk to everyone that you could. So that's
and more expertise cannot hurt you.
Right, that's
in
true.
terms of talking with financial professionals.
Never. And that's why it's great to work for a firm like Wiley Real Estate. They've been in business for many, many years. They are local, great reputation, and that certainly helps, especially starting out. I told you I just started in the industry during the pandemic.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. So that probably, what was that? Did you have to do a lot of preparation, or what was it sort of like starting in the middle of that? I mean, did Wiley just assist you in sort of getting the ropes and sort of getting ready to go in the middle of a pandemic?
Well, having sales experience is helpful, and I've worked many, many years in sales. Being a people person, obviously, doesn't hurt either. But then it's about knowledge a lot, working in an environment where there's a lot of experience and knowledge, frankly about resources that you have available.
Yep.
And then just, like I said earlier, take the pace out of the process and do it right.
So we have an audience question for you from Kevin Higgins, our old friend.
Kevin, thanks for watching the
Kevin,
show
how
today.
you doing? He asked, what are your thoughts on crypto in regard to a home purchase? Is it a part of the future of real estate sales?
Actually, in the industry, it's a topic that's gaining a lot of traction. Yeah, how will transactions in the future look like? And actually, some individuals that have real estate shows and television and write about it in magazines, they do anticipate that playing a role. Obviously, we need a lot to be in place before we can actually use cryptocurrency, frankly, regulations.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, let's look at the metaverse, what Facebook just started. You can purchase virtual real estate. Sounds
homes.
crazy idea. I like real estate to be tangible, something I can touch. But I think we need to be open to the idea that there's a shift, and there's always a shift, especially in real estate. Let's look at what the pandemic has changed how people formulate their requirements for a house.
Yep.
All of a sudden, people want more space. They might even want to live in the country and not in New York City anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That is a shift that we see during the pandemic. And now, besides the pandemic, what the viewer has just been asking, cryptocurrency, it's the future. I mean, let's look at NFTs.
Yep. Another
NFTs.
potential.
Virtual real estate, the way we pay for transactions. It's exciting to be part of this, but at the same time, no one will be able to sit here and say, that's how real estate going to be looking like. And again, supports my claim that you need to be knowledgeable, you need to be diligent, because while it is an exciting time to be in real estate, it's also a changing, shifting time.
Right. So I'm just going to follow up on that, and you can take this wherever you want, right? But would you see, following up on Kevin Higgins' question on crypto, would you, because of the volatility of crypto, would you see that making real estate transactions more difficult because of the fact that the price of crypto tends to go up and down per day in a more unstable way?
I want to say yes. It might be too early for cryptocurrency to play a role.
Okay.
At the same time, if we look back when, for example, Bitcoin started, and I think it was always volatile, but we are only looking back at a few years. So give it another few years, and all of a sudden we might be talking differently about the role of cryptocurrency.
Right.
So in 3 years, maybe I will not sit here and say, maybe right now might not be the time. I think it's heading in that direction, definitely.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right. No, that's a good
Fantastic.
point.
That's awesome. Before I let you go, always want to ask, where can people find you? What's the best way for people who are interested in talking with you, getting to know you, looking for a house, trying to sell a house, to get in touch with you?
Well, you see me in Charlottesville walking around a lot. I like running into the morning, but you don't necessarily have to talk to me then. Sure, you find me on social media. Unbelievable that I say this, but yeah, I'm starting to be on social media. I have to do a better job there. Matthias John is the name. You can email me at matthias@wileyproperty.com. My phone number is 434-906-4630. For anyone writing that down, I would love to be working with you. Love to get in touch. Let me know what questions you have.
There you go. So, my big takeaway is, if you see you walking downtown Charlottesville, go up and say hello. Just there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, we will stop you and we'll be like, hey, let's go to
please do.
coffee. Yeah.
There you go.
Go to Guajiros and have
Have a cup of coffee. Love it. Matthias, thanks so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming on.
Nice chatting with you.
Having you on. So as we do a little swap-a-roo here of guests, just a quick shout out. We got some more people watching the show. We got Elvira Detnase watching the show today. Thank you, Elvira. We got Quentin Beckham, Cynthia Murray, Anthony Adelphio watching today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this morning.
I would say QB, it's been a while, so it's good that you're back on the forums.
Nick is loving that.
Yeah, make sure you say something. Last time we haven't had a conversation via the chat, the comment section in a while, so if you got something, shout it out.
Shout it out, there you go. And so we're going to swap-a-roo here to another fantastic guest who's returning to Today Mañana.
An old favorite, like we like to.
An old favorite on Today Mañana. We're glad to welcome David Mccormick. He's the artistic director of the Early Music Access Project. David, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
It's great to be here.
Great to have you back. So,
Well, I'm going to start by saying David gave us a copy of the first magazine of Early Music Access Project. Right?
It's actually Early Music America. So I'm part of two different organizations that have very similar names.
There you go.
I'm the new executive director of Early Music America, which is a national organization. We're an advocacy organization for the field of early music in North America. And then I have Early Music Access Project, which is the local nonprofit that performs and engages in scholarship and education for early music.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about that, how you came to be involved and to connect with early music in that way.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back probably about 15 years, just hearing a recording of a violinist playing on a Baroque instrument. And the difference there is that the Baroque instruments have gut strings instead of the metal strings, and historic bows that curve out this way instead of this way. And that makes a really interesting and unique sound. It's the sound that the composers of the Baroque era, for instance, intended. And so just hearing that for the first time, the violinist's name was Rachel Padra. I heard her recording and I was like, I want to do that. Yeah. Right. And it took a while to kind of get going on that, but I just I found my niche in early music, found a place where I felt like I was playing at a really high level and people were enjoying what I was doing, so I just kept at it. Early Music Access Project, right at the beginning of the pandemic, actually had a research fellowship at the International Center for Jefferson Studies up at Monticello. And I was just researching music at Monticello and got stuck in that loop because there was no performing going on during the pandemic. For at least the first year of the pandemic, there just wasn't any live performance going on. Right.
Yep.
And so I just kept going on that research and ended up thinking a lot about the black musicians of Monticello, the enslaved musicians, and also the free black musicians of downtown Charlottesville. And in a way, a lot of that, the notoriety that I gained from that put me in a nice position for this national job. When that came open, people knew my name, knew what I was up to, and it helped pave the way for that.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So, I mean, I know that's culminating in a very exciting project that I know we're going to talk a little bit about between a collaboration, I think, between a filmmaker named Eduardo Montes Bradley and then yourself about those black musicians.
Yeah. So basically, as I was doing this research, I started walking around downtown and seeing the places where these fiddlers lived and worked. I mean, those buildings mostly don't exist anymore, but the spaces.
Right. The spaces where
and it became very visual for me, and I thought, it would be neat to put my research down in film format, and I'm not performing right now, I might as well do this. And when I first approached Eduardo, I was just looking to make a short documentary about my research. And he was like, no, wait, this is bigger. Yeah. He knew Rhiannon Giddens, the famous banjo player and fiddle player from the Carolina Chocolate Drops.
Oh, wow.
From a previous film that he had done. And he's like, I'm going to call up Rhiannon, we'll get her involved. Let's tell the story of black fiddling in America.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So in the entire country.
Yeah. So that film is probably a month or two from coming out. It's finished, but we're putting it up for film festival consideration.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Will it be shown possibly at the Virginia Film Festival?
We hope so.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get. Okay.
We'll push for that here at Virginia Film Festival if you're watching.
Yeah, because Charlottesville
add this to your
home for that,
to your list.
Yeah. Right. I think we're a shoo-in, but I don't want to say that we are for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I would hope so.
I would hope so too. Absolutely. So I'm curious that on the topic of early music, for people who just music listeners, classical or otherwise, what's different about sort of the early music experience as opposed to what you might generally expect from instrumental music?
So in part, the materials that I was talking about, like the gut strings, just create this, what I call it an organic sound, right? Because it's like the materials from the earth right. that are creating this, and it does make a difference, and especially we often do concerts in churches, that have beautiful acoustics, very organic acoustics,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And that matches really well and creates this resonance in the space where where modern instruments were designed. The violin evolved to be heard in larger and larger spaces.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's more about volume with a modern instrument. They still sound beautiful, but I'm obviously biased, and I think that the Baroque instruments have a really special sound to them. There's this hot debate among string players about whether to use vibrato on the violin, right? And the gut strings just sound really nice without vibrato. They just have this nice ring to them. But the metal strings really, they need the vibrato to get that resonance going.
The same feeling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it does change. My question would have been like, does it change the way you play? But I'm just getting from that it absolutely does.
Yeah, for sure. And the bows are very different as well. That shape creates an ebb and flow to the sound that modern players are looking to avoid. They're trying to make every inch count on the bow. And Baroque music, the composers were thinking of that ebb and flow as they were writing. They weren't writing for that straight tone.
That's amazing. I love that idea of I think in today's world we're so used to music in large concert halls. That's how you mostly experience classical music. Right. And probably the only places now where maybe now indie and sometimes lyrical music you'll do in smaller places, but classical is mostly now in large concert halls. So I love the idea of getting back to sort of the early roots where you would have heard Baroque music, you would have heard Renaissance music in smaller spaces, more intimate settings that just enable you to really feel the vibration of the music that you were listening to.
Yeah, this phrase chamber music that we hear a lot, that comes from being in a chamber.
Exactly.
That was the king and queen listening to you in a smaller space, or even sometimes while they were getting ready in the morning.
I did not know.
Literally
that part,
like chamber pot music.
I did not know.
There truly was music for like the king getting dressed and using the facilities in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a perk of being royalty. Like,
yeah.
You get to wake up and says, while
You've
you're
got
getting
a
dressed,
personal band,
listen to some Mozart that was composed for you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. And funny that you would ask that, is one of my questions was also like what it's like working as an artist with early music. I'm curious in terms of selecting what you want to play. Do you get to explore maybe some composers that you wouldn't otherwise look at because you're dealing now with people with a more specific time frame in terms of the instruments and so forth?
Yeah, one of the interesting things about early music, which loosely defined is like medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music, there are a lot of composers that didn't make it through the filter to today, right? And they were great composers. So there are lots of pieces to explore that we're doing like modern premieres of their works. In fact, this concert that's happening on March 6th, Sacred Music of Monticello, I'm pretty sure we're doing a modern premiere of a version of the Pergolesi Stabat Mater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is a version that was in Jefferson's collection. It was actually from one of his daughter's notebooks of music that she collected in France, right?
Oh my goodness.
And it's an English version of this Latin-texted Pergolesi Stabat Mater. It's a poem by Alexander Pope that's on the subject of death, but leaves out the Virgin Mary entirely. It's just about the being at peace with dying at the end of life. And it fits so interestingly with the music of Pergolesi's Stabat Mater, and so we're interspersing these the Latin and the English movements. And I'm pretty sure we may be the first group ever to perform this. I've only ever seen this version in Jefferson's collection. I haven't seen it anywhere else.
Wow.
So I think, unless you've been researching Jefferson's collection, I don't think anybody else really knows about it.
Would know about it.
Wow.
That's
So this is going to be a world premiere too.
Yeah.
So that remind us. So for the audience, the concert's going to be March 6th at 7:30 p.m. at Christ Episcopal Church. Is that correct? That's correct.
All of that is correct.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So
Tell us a little bit about the concert as a whole. What's kind of
Yeah.
the genesis of it, and what do people expect?
So as I was researching music at Monticello, my first step was just to see what was in Jefferson's collection. And what's cool about that is that University of Virginia's Special Collections Department has the whole collection.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually able to, with my own hands, touch the music that Jefferson...
Down there underneath.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. And they also, thank goodness, have a microfilm version of all of it, so I could just buzz through and see everything that was there. All of the pages are so brittle of this music that it takes about a full minute to turn a page. Oof. You know?
Yeah.
So you have to know what you want. You can't just sit there and like leaf through Jefferson's collection. It's not a casual exercise. But yeah, so the Pergolesi in these two versions, both versions come from Jefferson's collection. The Latin version is well known and is in lots of people's music collections, but it's still kind of unusual for him to have a piece of Catholic sacred music in his collection.
It's true, exactly.
So that's the starting point, and then I wanted to think about what the enslaved population was singing. And unfortunately, we have no records of what spirituals or sacred songs they might have been singing in that time. But Charlottesville has a long history of black churches that go back quite a ways. And there's just also general knowledge of regionally what spirituals were well known here. So a composer from New York, James Dargan, has arranged three of these spirituals. One of the arrangements is two spirituals, so he's technically arranged four spirituals.
3 pieces.
The math is really hard. And a couple of the singers who are singing in the Stabat Mater are taking part in that and also singing some of their favorite solo spirituals.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And we're interspersing all of this. So we're going to have like Latin, English version of the Latin piece, then a couple of spirituals, and then we go back to the Pergolesi. So it weaves in and out throughout the program and just kind of gives you this sense of the sound world of Monticello a little bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
That would be cool.
And I love that the music in this way, because it's so personal, gives you insight into just the people of that time. And so you did insight into the strange and interesting gentleman that was Jefferson, that he would have all these conflicting, he's probably one of the most conflicting characters in American history because of all the things he thought. And you said, how is having Catholic spiritual music in his collection compatible with everything else that we know about him? And yet you've just get insight into his mind as well as insight into the people that were living there, the enslaved population of Monticello. Right, how were they approaching sacred music at that time?
Yep.
And how different was that from the way Jefferson might have approached it? Maybe his approach was slightly more academic than theirs, because theirs was so integral to how they lived. And just, it's amazing to think that through music you can get that insight into the hearts and the minds of people that lived so long ago.
You know what else I love about music is that it's universal. We have, once again, today Mañana has gone global, and we have Tenwa Richard saying, "Greetings from Uganda, from the Kayotera Brass Band community. We watching you great guys." Thank you, Tenwa, for watching. We appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you so much for watching. Kayotera Brass Band community watching us. Thank you so much. That's awesome. We're inspiring and reaching people across the world with our music.
Speaking of just sort of the global community, I want to mention that this concert is being live streamed. So when you go to buy tickets, if you don't live in Charlottesville, that's okay. You can buy a live stream ticket. You can watch it along with the live audience, or you can watch it later. So also, if you're not available on March 6th, you can watch it anytime in the month of March.
That's fantastic.
So just to clarify on that, so you buy a live ticket, where do you watch it from? Do you watch it from Facebook or some other?
We will be sending out a link to all ticket holders about an hour before the show.
Okay,
and you'll be able to click to a private link on YouTube to see the show.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So that's something that people can watch on their TVs as well if they have the YouTube.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's something I've taken to doing in these last couple of years, is watching some of my favorite groups from all over the globe.
Yep.
I don't have to wait until they come to Charlottesville or take the train up to New York to see them. I can just do it in my living room. And there is, there's nothing like live music.
Right.
But it's also really exciting to be able to plug into what other people are doing without the expense of a trip or...
Exactly. It's better, like, live streamed music is better than no music.
Yes.
Even if it's not as good as like being in person with live music.
Yeah. But I will say, I am thrilled to be giving a live concert. It's been a while for Early Music Access Project. We've done live activities. So starting, I guess it was last spring, we started doing outdoor walking tours downtown for this for the Black Fiddlers research. So we'd take a loop around downtown and see Maplewood Cemetery, where the Scott family fiddlers are buried. And see where the Hemmings, where Eston Hemmings once lived downtown. It's approximately where Timberlakes is downtown.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And there's some interesting resonance in that spot actually because it's on Heather Higher Way. So it has like the 2017 resonance to it as well. So there's just like these generations of like racial strife in the spot.
In that one spot.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you even know, in terms of the Black Fiddlers Project, we even know like specific places, so specific individuals who cultivated this music, as well as specific places like they played at that spot.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, Thomas Jefferson had 3 sons with Sally Hemings, one of the enslaved people at Monticello.
Right.
All 3 of them were fiddlers.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Eston Hemings, his youngest son, went on to Ohio and had like a famous dance band in Chillicothe, Ohio.
Oh my goodness.
And then they had cousins, the Scott family fiddlers, who married into the Hemings family 2 different times. They were 3 generations of Scotts played for every important function in Charlottesville, including Lafayette's visit to Monticello in 1824.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's some lost history here of really famous musicians, and I think because of the color of their skin, we're kind of lost to history. But we're incredibly important in Charlottesville. They were playing in like the Cool Springs Barbecue Club, which is where all of the white political elite of Charlottesville gathered. You know, like they would stand shoulder to shoulder. I have a photograph of them standing shoulder to shoulder with former Confederate soldiers.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That
Just
is
so
kinda
much
wild.
history and music mixed in. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So and people can expect that month or 2 from now to be able to see that film.
Yeah, so the Black Fiddlers documentary is coming out in a couple of months. For folks who are interested in the specific sort of Monticello stuff, there's a Black Fiddlers concert coming probably a year from now.
Nice.
I have postponed it a bit to get a composer involved.
Oh, nice.
He is writing a setting of a story that was once told by one of the enslaved nursemaids at Monticello.
Interesting.
So this story was told to Jefferson's children. One of those children, while she was in France, told a writer there. He wrote it down in French and published it in a journal in French.
Oh, my goodness.
And then somebody in the 1970s translated it back to English, but it was just like an academic translation, like here's exactly what it says. So it doesn't have the flavor of storytelling
Right.
that is a
Lyrical
very unique
quality.
thing.
Yeah.
So I'm engaging someone to sort of retranslate,
Yeah.
and then the composer is going to set that story to music.
Do we know how they're going to set it? Is it going to be? Because I remember we went recently to a concert where there was a reading and it was played in like that, or is it going to be sung? Do we know how?
We
that's
haven't
gonna-
decided yet.
Okay, that's gonna be fun. Okay, good.
I know it's a big decision to make.
Right.
Yep.
I think probably there's some consideration. I don't know if he'll end up doing this or not. It's totally up to him.
Right.
But we do have a French version, and we kind of have like a storyteller telling the story and someone singing in French.
That would be cool.
I'm kind of lobbying for that, Jonathan, if you're listening.
Jonathan, if you're listening.
Being live on air for this one. But yeah, no, that sounds beautiful.
No, but yeah,
I'm
and I
excited for that
love
as well.
I also love just as music lovers, just the idea of like now a modern composer, someone who's alive today, is going to take all of that material and just sort of like and I wouldn't even know how you would just begin to write. Like, is he taking into account like should you use early like techniques of string instruments, or like how do you arrange, like what is the arrangement going to be? Is it going to be a small chamber style with the song, or like orchestral? Or
I've given him kind of a weird assignment here because the rest of that concert is recreating the two bands, the Scott Family Band and the Eston Hemmings Band. So the Eston Hemmings Band was violin, clarinet, and cello. So we'll have that. The Scotts was usually 3 fiddle players, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
But we also know that the banjo was very prevalent at this time and is an instrument of African origin, so I want to include that. And the archaeologists at Monticello wanted me to see all of the jaw harps that were at Monticello. It's the largest collection of jaw harps that's ever been unearthed.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, so that was clearly very popular. So I'm hoping to have all of these sounds be part of this piece, so that you're getting the sound world of Monticello in a modern composition.
Oh my!
I thought you were gonna at first tell us there was gonna be like Wellington's Victory, where it's like there's one group of players on one side. For those of you not familiar, Beethoven wrote a piece where like there were 2 different orchestras, both on different sides of the stage, to play against each other.
You've given me a great idea.
I was like, you never know. I thought that's what you were saying, because like you were like inspired by the 2 bands. I'm like, so one band's gonna be on left side, one's gonna be on right side of the stage, and they're gonna be Wellington, and they're gonna compete. I was like, that sounds cool.
Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, well, hey, in Venice, actually, when we went to Venice, they used to...
They still do that?
Yeah, in San Marco Square, they try to, like, out-compete each other when you're there, because they'll just be playing, like, and you'll just have small arrangements, a piano, a clarinet, a violin, cellos, and then they're, like, across the square, another cafe's got their own band, and they'll be, like, playing either the same thing or different things, and they're just, like, playing off each other, and that was a lot of fun, but I was like, hey, you never know. Is that what David's thinking? Got to
still work. Oh, I love it. So for people who are interested to learn more, get involved,
and buy tickets.
Where can people find the Early Music Assets Project and as well as the Sacred Music of Monticello?
Yeah, so Early Music Seville is the way through all of the various things. So whether you're on Facebook or our website is earlymusicseville.org, or Instagram is at earlymusicseville. All of those will get you to us, and there are links to buy tickets to the March 6th concert. There also is a link there to sign up for a free event on March 4th, Friday at 1 p.m. at the Center at Belvedere, to meet the artists and the composer. The composer will be talking about his experience growing up, traveling around with his parents, who were documenting black church music in various different churches.
Oh, interesting.
Wow,
that would be fascinating to hear his story.
So that one's free. The concert, the tickets are $25, and there's also a $10 option for students and folks with economic need. And I want to encourage folks to not be shy about the $10 tickets. They're there for whoever needs them. And please don't think that economic need means that you are destitute. It just means, like, I won't go to this concert unless I can do the $10 ticket. Get the $10 ticket.
Exactly. Yeah. That's fantastic. It's true. We want to encourage as many people as possible to participate in the beauty. Like, it's all of our heritage.
Absolutely.
I was saying, start bringing young people in it too, so that we can start bringing young people into experiencing different styles of classical music. So, because I just hate that impression that it's just like stuffy and people just sit there and like, because like internally, as I'm sure you probably know, when you're listening to classical music, you feel it, like,
yeah.
So
it's an emotional
it
experience.
Reaches you. And this sounds like this concert is going to be another one of those situations where like it'll reach you.
I think so. I mean, even if you've never been to a classical music concert before, even if you think you hate classical music, spirituals are really universal.
Right.
And I think the singers who are singing and the language of those spirituals is just going to be really powerful, regardless of your previous experience with classical music.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So Early Music Seville.
Yes.
.org, as well as
earlymusicseville.org.
Early Music Seville across all the social media channels.
Yes.
Fantastic. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always great to
coming
be
back.
here.
We'll have you back. We will have you back. So be sure to check out, especially March 6th, 7:30 p.m., Christ Episcopal Church, Sacred Music of Monticello concert. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it. So we're gonna.
That was phenomenal.
That was phenomenal. I
As always.
always love talking with David.
Well, you and I have a thing for music.
We do
I don't
love
think
music, which helps.
we haven't hit it at all the course of the show.
No, we're not shy about our love of classical music. to be sure. And I just love what he's doing in terms of the.
So we got some shout outs though to make sure that we get through before.
We got some other people watching the show here.
So we have Caroline Levy, thank you for watching. Annabelle Hunter, thank you for watching. We have Anthony Adelphio, thank you for watching.
John
Cynthia,
Noel's watching us.
Who?
Thank you, John Noel.
Oh,
John Noel, I should say.
John Noel, there we go. I was like, hey, buddy. Cynthia Murray said, another great show, guys. So thank you, Cynthia.
Oh, fantastic.
And Pauline Brunetti, thank you for watching,
Thanks
Pauline.
everyone for watching the show today. And so now, I'm very happy for this one. I've been wanting to do this for a little while here. So we're really excited to bring on the show Stephanie Leach. She is the program manager of Charlottesville Scholarship Program. How are you doing today, Stephanie?
I'm well. How are you?
We're doing great.
Doing well. So, Charlottesville Scholarship Program is something very near and dear to my heart. I've been on that board for at least 4+ years and treasurer for maybe 2 or 3. So, and it's just a beautiful program. But I'm going to let you say it in such a beautiful way, Stephanie. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about what the scholarship program is.
Sure. The Charlottesville Scholarship Program is a scholarship fund within the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation. And it has been around since 2001. And the purpose is to provide funds to low to middle income folks in our area to pursue post-secondary education. And that could look like a 4-year degree, it could look like a 2-year degree, it could look like a technical certificate or vocational program certificate. So we do all of those things.
All those things. And just so many beautiful scholars have come through this program, and they've achieved such great things. And just the flexibility of it is so wonderful that you don't have to feel locked in like, oh, I can only do this and go to a 4-year institution. There's PBCC, there's technical schools, there's rotations, there's so many options out there that this can support you with.
Absolutely right, and it's not just high school seniors looking to go to college for the first time. We give scholarships to local adults who are going back for an undergraduate degree or one of those professional or vocational certifications.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
That I think
that's something that you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know,
Right.
Right? Because you think of a scholarship immediately, it's like football going into college, right? Not necessarily what we're describing here.
That's right. You do have to be a Charlottesville resident, but you can be a Charlottesville High School senior and a Charlottesville resident and apply for a scholarship. You can be a Charlottesville High School graduate and a Charlottesville resident and apply for a scholarship. You can be a GED recipient and a Charlottesville resident and apply for a scholarship. Or you could work for the city or for the city school system and apply for a scholarship no matter where you reside.
So that's fantastic.
Wow.
So many
it's
people,
very flexible.
Yes.
So flexible. So many people can take advantage of it to grow as a person, and so many do. The scholars that come through this program they're incredible.
They are, and I'm smiling because I'm so proud of them. This program enriches this community more than I can say. The scholars that we have pursue a college degree or any type of post-secondary degree. A lot of them are the first in their family to go to school after high school. This is an amazing thing, and this is a way to bring generational change to our community.
Exactly.
Right.
No, once that happens, there'll be such a support system that they'll be able to just support the next generations to go there and so forth.
And we have siblings. We have younger siblings come through this program who've seen an older sibling
Oh, wow.
accomplish something amazing, and they want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. And one of the special things about it, I think that's unique about this scholarship program, and just you think of scholarships, first thing you think of, okay, here's an amount of money that you can use to go to school. But Charlottesville Scholarship Program adds another layer.
It does.
Which is that we pair all the scholars with a navigator. And so tell us a little bit about that program.
This is one of the best parts of Charlottesville Scholarship Program. We don't just write a student a check and say, good luck with that. We assign them a local adult volunteer who is committed to stick with that student throughout his or her course of study. And that can look like encouragement, support, advice, gentle reminders when it's time to renew scholarships, because these are renewable awards throughout a student's course of study.
Right.
And the communication between Navigator and Scholar can take so many different forms. It can be in person, it can be a chat over coffee, or lunch, or brunch, or text, email, phone call, and we've had to use all of those during COVID.
Yep,
Right.
exactly. And it goes to show you the importance of the relationship that you can establish as a navigator. It's not reliant on, oh goodness, I need to go and meet with a student. It can be flexible for you and the student.
Absolutely.
That are working together to because I mean, your student could be going to college not in this area.
Right.
And you're gonna find ways to just be there for them and support them and check in with them and just have that voice, especially if they're the first in their family to go to college.
Absolutely.
To be say, okay, don't worry about this. I've gone through this, and they'll say, oh, this happened. It's like happens to a lot of us, right? It's not just you, because they wouldn't have that sort of family background or to say, oh yes, that happened to me when I was in college as well.
Right.
So to have just that person, and sometimes it's not even necessarily feeling like you as the navigator have to know all the answers. It's just saying, oh, you know what, when I was in college, here's where I found an answer, or here's who I talked to get an answer for that question, and just be there for them.
That's right. I think applying for college, finding money for college, and then thriving once you get there, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's a lot if you have siblings who've gone to college or family members who've gone to college. If you don't have any of that institutional memory in your family, it's so much harder. And these navigators are just wonderful. That means that a student doesn't always have to hear from me.
Right.
They can hear from someone else who's always a cheerleader, always in their corner.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, when we've talked to navigators in the past, they themselves have found it an enriching relationship. It's not just a give on the part of the navigator. They'll come back and say, you know what, I've been so inspired by the story of the student I'm working with, or I just feel reinvigorated
Right.
by working with someone who's young and going through this process and entering college for the first time and having that excitement of the world and the things that they can do in life opened up for them. And we'll have navigators say, you know what, I was so glad to experience that again.
Yeah.
That's definitely been true for me. I know the same has been true for you. I have 3 students that I'm navigating myself right now, and each one is different. Each one is having a very different experience in school. Some need me more than others. Some are very self-sufficient. Others are not shy at all about reaching out by text or email or phone call and saying, what do I do now?
Exactly.
Right.
And it's a privilege to be able to share this.
Right.
It is.
Absolutely.
No, it is. It's a beautiful thing, and it's not a difficult process at all to sign up or become. You don't have to go through some what is it called?
Onerous process?
Onerous
Onerous
process.
There you go.
Onerous process of sitting there and saying, no, I need to sit down and answer all these questions and so forth. Super simple application.
easy.
Give us a couple people that know you. Let us know your interests in terms of pairing you up with a student that might share some of those interests. Put your name down, and then there's a really easy sheet that says, here's some basic check-ins that you can do, and then you run with it and establish a relationship.
I have a question and both of you might be able to answer this. So what are some of the hang-ups? Because I know a lot of people will be watching the show, be saying, oh, that's great, but it's great for someone else, and have those hang-ups like, it's not for me, or like, oh, I always wanted to, but, I don't want to, they don't want to take the risk, or they don't want to, they're afraid to get started. So like walking through if there's somebody watching that was in that position, like what would you say to them? Like, how do you encourage them to be like, no, you should take this step. Like, this is a great thing to do.
I think I can only share my own experience and what I've watched our other navigators go through. For me, I'm a parent of 5 kids, and they all happen to be college age or just a little bit out of college.
Wow.
So I would say first, if you're a parent, of any age child, and you watch your child and your child's friends go through life and have ups and downs and bumps and successes, and you think maybe I'd like to share that with another young person, go for it. I really like young people, and if you really like young people, this is the perfect spot for you. Even if you're not sure whether you really like young people, give it a try. They'll surprise you. They are inspiring, as you say. Many of them have experienced challenges already in their life that I can't even imagine, and they persevere. They thrive, and all they need is a kind text or a kind phone call or a free coffee if you take them out to coffee sometimes. And most of us can do that. It's not a huge time commitment, but the rewards. So if you're on the fence, just do it.
Give it
There
a
you
shot.
go.
And it's also like if you're on the fence and you're not sure, okay, how do I do this? I've never done this before. I've never been a mentor. I only graduated from college a few years ago. I'm not sure what to do. We're not throwing you into the fire and saying you're on your own. There's a whole group of navigators that are there to say that you can give a call to, send an email to, and say, hey, my student's asking about this.
Absolutely.
What would you do? And they'll happily say, hey, here's what I would talk to them about. I mean, you did a little sheet that says here are the major dates to remember. March 1st. Date to renew the scholarship. Every single year, it's pretty much March 1st, so you don't have to worry that it's changing all the time.
It is.
It's always March 1st. Here's when they're usually in the summer. They're probably about to go. They're ready to go in there. You don't want to send them something in November because they're probably taking midterms at that time. December, January, they're then ready to go back to school. So you've got a lot of support for you as a navigator as well. You also have Stephanie right here that if you're like, I really don't know the answer to this scholarship-related question, you send Stephanie an email, and Stephanie will be like, I know the answer to this scholarship-related question. And so you have a support system as a navigator as well. So it's not like you have to know all the answers. And really, the scholars don't expect you to know all the answers.
No.
They're not. Your job here isn't to be, an administrator for a scholarship program.
That's right.
Your job is to just be a kind voice, saying, how you doing? Oh, that's fantastic. Don't worry about it. You can do this. Hey, did you think about renewing? It's almost March 1st. Did you think about renewing? It's almost March 1st. And then did you think about renewing? It's almost March 1st.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, and you'll be surprised that you might not hear anything the first 2 times, and then the 3rd time say, yeah, I needed to get to you on that. Because they're young. We were all young once, right?
Absolutely.
And we're like, I've got all this schoolwork.
I'm sure I was terrible with.
I'll get to it. And you're just there to just be that supporter.
Right. And one of the things I love best about this program is we understand that you're young and you can forget things and you can make mistakes and you might experience a financial problem at school that wouldn't allow you to access your transcript, which I want to see by March 1st. Did I mention it's March 1st? It's okay.
Exactly.
It's okay. All they have to do is reach out and say, I'm having a problem.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
we understand.
Exactly.
Yeah,
When they
that's
reach
agreed.
out to you as a navigator, you say, don't worry about it. Let's talk with Stephanie. Let's see what we can do to make this work. Because this scholarship is the flexibility of it is that it's here, and part of the renewal is for that purpose.
Absolutely.
To give you a goal that, okay, I get this much of the scholarship each year as I renew, to give you that goal to work towards, make sure you keep your grades up, make sure you stay in good status, but we're flexible, so that if you're like, you know what, can you defer this till I get to a more expensive school? Yes. I didn't get my grades up and up this year, can you defer this so that when I get them up next semester, as I know I'm going to, it'll be there for me? Yes. So it's not as though it's a cold scholarship where, didn't keep your grades up, sorry, we don't want to do it. We're always in touch with you.
Yeah, we don't
and
do it
the
that
goal
way.
is to stay in constant, that's what the Navigator's for, to be in that constant communication so the students never feel like they're on their own.
Right. That's right. And I always encourage students to just be proactive in that communication. It's so much easier to tell us up front, I might have a problem, than to wait until after the deadline is passed and then be in trouble.
Exactly.
Well, I was to say those are good life skills to build, especially
Absolutely.
with somebody to walk you through that. I mean, that's a lot of valuable experience there. Being like, this is how you navigate when you get out, just even past college, because like at college you're kind of thrown into the fire, have to try to juggle all these things. But then if you get into the business world or any other world where you're working, like you have to be able to manage these different things, deadlines and requirements. And it's great to have somebody like help you realize how to organize that early on, rather than going there and then struggling even more. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. So and I know the application process. So March 1st
Yes.
is the deadline to apply.
Yes, March 1st is our red letter day. It's our deadline to apply for a new CSP scholarship, and it's also our deadline for all of our current students to renew their scholarships. And we have a little bit of a carrot for students who are renewing their scholarships, and we don't ask for much. We ask them to screenshot their transcripts so I can see their grades and see that they're making progress toward their degree. I ask them to write a short personal statement just to tell us what have they been up to, what are their successes, what are the challenges that they've experienced, and then I do ask them and this is very easy, it's fill in the blank, to do a financial statement for me so we can tell, are the awards that we're giving making a difference? Are they decreasing students' debt load? Are they able to cover groceries? These are important things for us to know, and they're important things for the students to know. It gives them an opportunity to sit down with those numbers.
Right.
Exactly, to learn about their
Which
own
is
personal
good.
finances as well.
Right.
Absolutely. And then it's it's an easy application
It
process.
is.
Where can people find it and fill it out?
Yeah. They can go to our website, which is cvelscholarship.com, and it's a completely online application. If students would prefer not to do that, they can always print it off and do it. But it's very easy. It is a one-page application. I do ask them to write a personal statement, just as we do for our renewing our students, so we can get to know them a little bit.
Exactly.
I do ask that they submit the page from their FAFSA that shows their family income, because these scholarships are limited to low and middle income students.
Right.
I ask them for a recommendation from someone who knows them well, who's not in their family. Usually it's a teacher, sometimes it's a guidance counselor, sometimes it's somebody that they've worked with in the community.
Yeah,
Right.
It doesn't have to be a teacher.
So it's very easy. And we also have a wonderful scholarship coordinator at Charlottesville High School who will help gather missing
Yep.
pieces. If students are having trouble getting one piece or another, she'll help them and gently nudge them so that they can make that March 1st deadline. And if anybody has questions, of course, they can always get in touch with me.
Exactly, yeah. And equally easy is the Navigator application. Same website. Literally, you just download it right there. It says application. What is it, 2 pages?
It's very easy.
2 pages, and then you can scan it, email it in, you can mail it in, and we'll be in touch with you and connect you with these wonderful students. So it's such an easy process.
I even had one student one time not want to apply online. He wanted to fill it out on paper and wanted to hand deliver it. He drove it to my house.
Oh,
Wow. Good for him.
Realized he'd forgotten a piece, emailed me and said, can I come back? He came back to the house, and then he phone called to make sure that I had it all. That's how important
it is for
these
them.
scholarships are.
No, it
to
can
these
make
young
a
people.
significant difference. And so, helping it in any way possible is a beautiful experience.
It
You know,
is.
and you don't.
I was gonna
and
say,
the
if you're
beauty-
going to handle it, it's because you want to make sure it gets where it's going.
Exactly.
I mean, that
it shows you just how
But
much
that's
they
also
value
good
it.
dedication on his part.
Oh, it's
Of
terrific.
course.
And this is a student, he actually has a wonderful story. This was a student who applied once he was already in college. He was a Charlottesville high school graduate. He'd been to one college, didn't fit him very well. He decided to come back to Charlottesville, go to Piedmont for a semester, ended up transferring to another college that suited him so much better.
Perfect.
He graduated last spring
Oh,
Good
and
for
is
him.
interning with a local nonprofit. he is giving so much more back to this community right now than we ever
gave him with the
gave
scholarship. It's
So,
true.
Got 2 follows on one. You mentioned Piedmont. We got to thank Colin Lucky for watching. He is a history professor
yes, Colin,
and
thanks for
good
watching
friend
the
of
show
ours.
today.
Thank you for watching, Professor Lucky. He was one of the best teachers I ever had. He's the one who drove me into getting my history major at UVA. And we have a question for you, Stephanie, from our friend Kevin Higgins. Stephanie, what is your ideal day with what you do? What makes you feel you are at your best? He likes to ask those tough ones, Kevin. So.
Ideal day. I actually shared this with Alex. I had a pretty ideal day in the last couple of weeks. We gave a scholarship to a student who'd had some pretty rough family circumstances. And she persevered, wanted to go to a 4-year college, decided maybe that wasn't the best fit for her. Went to PVCC for 2 years, could get that paid for by other means. Asked her Navigator, would it be possible to defer my scholarship? Navigator contacted me. I'm like, of course, absolutely. We will hang on to that money until she needs it. But we had her jump through those renewal hoops every single year so I could keep up with what was going on with her. Her Navigator actually ended up leaving Charlottesville and moving out of state. And I became this young woman's Navigator, which was fine with me because I'd loved her from the second I met her. She did end up transferring to a 4-year school using her deferred scholarship. And I was checking on her a couple weeks ago, and she texted me back and said, yeah, I'll be graduating May 6th. You're going to be there, right?
Oh, that's sweet.
Like wild horses could not keep me away.
Right.
She's been through so much, and it has been a privilege to walk beside her. So that was a pretty good day.
I can imagine. Yep, it is. And I think being part of this program, like the privilege is ours.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? These students have gone through so much to get here, and they're still doing the work that they're pushing and persevering. But the privilege is ours to be able to help them and be part of the journeys that they're on.
It is. It is. They give me so much more than I give them.
Oh,
That's amazing. That's a great story.
I can't think of a better way to close this out than that. Thank you so much.
Oh, Kevin responds, that's inspirational answer and fuel for all of us. And
There
that's
you go.
absolutely true.
Absolutely true.
Right, and hit it right on the nail, Kevin. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Really
Thank
appreciate it. We're gonna just a couple of announcements for today. I would really, really encourage everyone to just go to CVilleScholarship.com, support in any way you can, especially by being a Navigator. It'll be a great experience for you to do. And today was a great day.
Today was it was interesting. We had all sorts of different things going on between talking real estate shop, then we moved the music, and we had a lot of fun, and then the inspiration that comes at the end. It was kind of an interesting juxtaposition of different ways that our community gets impacted.
Exactly. Different connections of the community and ways that you can help and just make this community a richer place. And we've got, next week is going to be fantastic as well. We're going to be joined by Janine from Charlottesville State Shop, as well as by someone from James Monroe Highland.
Oh.
Another beautiful spot that we love here in
Keeping up with
Charlottesville.
historical theme, right? That was
Exactly, keeping up with the historical theme. And just always a blessing to be on this show. Thanks for co-hosting with me today, for filling in.
You're welcome, Xavier, if you're out there watching.
You're welcome, Xavier.
Or fielding phone calls. We don't know which, but
Just always appreciative of being here on the I Love Seville Network set. Always appreciative
Thank
of
you, Judah.
partnering with Judah behind the camera here, wording his magic. Always appreciative of partnering with the gym, Seville, with GBS Financial Services, with Vitae Spirits, Sirius Credit Insurance, Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, and Castle Hill Cidery. Just really appreciate all these partnerships that we have. Appreciate our presenting sponsor, Emergent Financial Services.
I don't know if
Fort
you saw on
Adelante.
Instagram the Castle Hill cider wall. that they posted?
Oh,
yeah, they had that wedding and they put like there was a giant wall and each champagne flute was filled with a little cider just for people to like walk by and grab.
Check that out.
And I was like, that is so cool.
We have to check that. I have to check that out. So and as soon as done as the spring comes.
Oh, and they have so many
there.
different types of cider.
So
I was
many
just kind of
different
curious,
types.
like, which do you pick?
You choose, exactly. So just really appreciate all our partners. Appreciate being here. Thank you, Judah, behind the camera. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you to our audience for watching and for just your engagement today. Thanks for your questions, Kevin. Thanks to the audience for just reaching out to us and connecting with us. Be sure to let us know any questions, comments, people you want us to have on in the future. We really appreciate you all and look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, hasta mañana.